I never thought a simple room key could change my life forever. But there I was, standing in a stranger's hotel room, face to face with a man wearing nothing but a towel. And that's how I accidentally met the man who would turn my world upside down. Hello, I'm Sarah, a 32-year-old marketing executive from London, living in Boston, and this is the story of how a mix-up at the Regal Palace Hotel in New York City led me to question everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and my own life's direction. It was a crisp autumn evening in Manhattan. The city lights twinkled through the windows of my taxi as I headed to the hotel, my mind buzzing with tomorrow's big presentation. I was exhausted from the flight, my suit slightly wrinkled, and my brunette hair barely contained in a messy bun. All I wanted was a hot shower and a soft bed. The lobby of the Regal Palace was a whirlwind of activity, tourists with oversized luggage, business people tapping away on their phones, and harried staff trying to keep up with it all. I approached the reception desk, where a flustered young man with a name tag reading Tim greeted me. His forced smile showed signs of stress. Tim's fingers flew over the keyboard. He saw that I was in room 1506 and handed me the key card. I mumbled a thank you, too tired to notice his slight hesitation as he handed me the key. The elevator ride was a blow of soft music and mental rehearsal of my presentation points. Finally, I reached the 15th floor. Room 1506. I swiped the card, heard the click, and pushed the door open. The room was dimly lit, and I could hear the shower running. Strange, I thought. Must be a plumbing issue in the next room. I wheeled my suitcase in, my mind already on tomorrow's agenda. That's when I heard it, the squeak of a shower faucet turning off. My heart began to race. Before I could react, the bathroom door opened, releasing a cloud of steam. And there he stood, tall, with droplets of water clinging to his toned chest, a white towel wrapped precariously around his waist. His blue eyes widened in shock as they met mine. For a moment, time stood still. Then reality came crashing down. Oh my God, I yelped, stumbling backward. I'm so sorry. Wrong room. The stranger, to his credit, seemed more amused than angry. A small smirk played on his lips as he tightened his grip on the towel. Well, he said, his voice deep and surprisingly calm, this is certainly a unique way to meet someone. I felt my face burning with embarrassment. I'm so sorry. The front desk must have made a mistake with the room number. He chuckled, running a hand through his damp, dark hair. No harm done. Though I usually prefer to be fully dressed when meeting new people. I'm Jack, by the way. Sarah, I mumbled, unable to tear my eyes away from his face, his very handsome face. I couldn't help but notice. Well, I should go. As I turned to leave, my heel caught on my suitcase. I stumbled, and in that moment of gracelessness, my carefully organized portfolio flew open, scattering papers across the floor. Oh, for heaven's sake! I groaned, dropping to my knees to gather the scattered documents. To my surprise, Jack knelt down to help, still clutching his towel with one hand. Hey, let me give you a hand. It's the least I can do for such an unexpected guest. As we collected the papers, our hands brushed, sending an unexpected jolt through me. Our eyes met, and for a moment, I forgot about the embarrassment, the mix-up, everything. There was something in his gaze, warmth, humor, and a hint of intrigue. So, Sarah, Jack said, handing me the last of the papers, since we've already skipped past several stages of normal introduction, how about we start over? Perhaps over a drink in the hotel bar. Once I'm dressed, of course. I knew I should politely decline, return to the front desk, and sort out this room confusion. That would be the sensible thing to do. But as I looked at Jack, with his kind eyes and charming smile, I felt a spark of spontaneity that I hadn't experienced in years. You know what? I said, surprising myself. Why not? After all, this is turning out to be anything but a normal business trip. 30 minutes later, I found myself sitting at the hotel bar, nervously smoothing my blouse and wondering if I had lost my mind. What was I doing? meeting a stranger for drinks after such an embarrassing encounter. But before I could change my mind and flee, Jack appeared. He looked even more handsome, fully dressed in dark jeans and a crisp white shirt. His easy smile put me at ease almost instantly. "Well, hello again," he said, sliding onto the bar stool next to me. "I'm glad you didn't change your mind." I laughed, feeling some of my nervousness dissipate. Honestly, I almost did. But I figured I owed you a drink after nearly giving you a heart attack. As we settled in, ordering our drinks, a gin and tonic for me, a whiskey neat for him, I found myself drawn into easy conversation with Jack. He had a way of making me feel comfortable, like we'd known each other for years instead of mere minutes. "So, Sarah," he said, his blue eyes twinkling with genuine interest, "what brings you to New York? Besides invading strangers' hotel rooms, of course." I rolled my eyes playfully. "Very funny. I'm actually here for work. I have a big presentation tomorrow for a potential client. It could be a game changer for my career." Jack leaned in, intrigued. "Sounds exciting. What field are you in?" "Marketing," I replied. "I work for a firm in Boston specializing in digital strategies for tech startups. This client could put us on the map nationally." As I spoke about my work, I noticed Jack listening intently, asking insightful questions that showed he was genuinely engaged. It was refreshing. Most men I dated back home tended to glaze over when I talked about my career. "That's impressive," Jack said, raising his glass in a small toast. "To successful presentations and accidental meetings." We clinked glasses, and I felt a warm flutter in my chest. "What about you, Jack? What do you do?" For a brief moment, I saw something flicker in his eyes, hesitation, perhaps? But it was gone so quickly, I thought I might have imagined it. "I'm in business consulting," he said smoothly, "helping companies streamline their operations, that sort of thing. But it's nowhere near as interesting as your work. Tell me more about this presentation. What's your strategy?" As we continued talking, I found myself opening up more than I had with anyone in a long time. There was something about Jack, his attentiveness, his humor, the way he seemed to understand my passion for my work, that made me feel seen in a way I hadn't experienced before. Hours passed like minutes. We shared stories about our lives, my childhood in London, his travels around the world. Jack was fascinating, with a wealth of experiences that both excited and intimidated me. Yet, for all his stories, I noticed he kept certain details vague, his exact job title, where he lived. At the time, I chalked it up to maintaining some privacy with a stranger. As the night wore on, I glanced at my watch and gasped. "Oh no, it's past midnight. I have to be up early for my presentation." Jack looked genuinely disappointed. "Time flies when you're in good company. But you're right. I wouldn't want to be responsible for ruining your big day." As we stood to leave, an awkward moment passed between us. Were we going to shake hands? A hug? The easy rapport we'd built over drinks suddenly felt fragile in the face of parting. Jack solved the dilemma by gently taking my hand. "Sarah, I've really enjoyed tonight. Would you like to have dinner tomorrow evening? To celebrate your successful presentation?" My heart raced. The sensible part of me knew I should decline. I was here for work, not to start a holiday romance. But looking into Jack's eyes, I found myself nodding. "I'd love to," I heard myself say. His face lit up with a smile that made my knees weak. "Excellent. I know just the place. I'll make reservations for 8. Meet you in the lobby." I agreed, and we parted ways at the elevator. As I watched the numbers climb to my floor, my actual floor this time, I couldn't shake the feeling that something significant had just happened. This wasn't just a casual drink with a handsome stranger. It felt like the beginning of something more. Back in my room, as I laid out my suit for tomorrow and went over my presentation notes one last time, my mind kept drifting back to Jack. His laugh, the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled, the surprising depth of our conversation. But as I finally crawled into bed, a nagging thought crept in. For all the hours we'd spent talking, how much did I really know about Jack? His life seemed exciting, but also somewhat vague. And why did I feel like he was holding something back? I pushed the doubts aside, chalking them up to my usual overthinking. Tomorrow was a big day. I needed to focus on my presentation, not on deciphering the mysteries of a man I'd just met. Little did I know, as I drifted off to sleep, that the coming days would unravel those mysteries in ways I could never have imagined. My carefully ordered life was about to be turned upside down, all because of a chance encounter and a wrong room key. The next morning, I woke up with a mix of excitement and anxiety churning in my stomach. Was it because of my big presentation, or because of Jack? I wasn't sure anymore. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my navy blue suit and taking deep breaths. Focus, Sarah, I muttered to myself. The presentation is what matters today. But as I made my way to the conference room, my mind kept drifting back to Jack's smile, the way his eyes had lit up when he talked about his travels. I shook my head, trying to clear these thoughts. I had worked too hard to let a handsome stranger distract me now. The presentation went better than I could have hoped. My voice was steady, my slides perfect, and the client seemed genuinely impressed. As I wrapped up, the CEO of the tech startup we were pitching to stood up, grinning. "Ms. Thompson, that was exceptional," he said, extending his hand. "I think we have a lot to discuss about future collaboration." I felt a surge of pride and relief. This was the big break I'd been working towards for years. As we exchanged business cards and promises of follow-up meetings, I couldn't help but think how much I wanted to share this moment with someone. And surprisingly, it wasn't my colleagues back in Boston I was thinking of, it was Jack. As I left the meeting, riding high on my success, I nearly collided with someone in the hallway. "Oh, I'm so sorry," I began, then stopped short. It was Jack. "Sarah," he exclaimed, looking equally surprised. "I was just on my way to a meeting. How did your presentation go?" "It went great," I beamed, unable to contain my excitement. "They loved it. We might land the account." Jack's face lit up with genuine happiness for me. "That's fantastic. We definitely have something to celebrate tonight." As we stood there, grinning at each other like idiots, I noticed a man in an expensive suit approaching us. He nodded at Jack. "Mr. Evans, we're ready for you now." Jack's demeanor changed instantly. He straightened up, his smile becoming more reserved. "Thank you, I'll be right there." He turned back to me, a flicker of, was that nervousness in his eyes? "I'll see you tonight, Sarah. 8 o'clock, remember?" As I watched him walk away with the suited man, questions swirled in my mind. Mr. Evans? The way that man had addressed Jack, it seemed like he was someone important. But Jack had told me he was just a business consultant. What wasn't he telling me? The rest of the day passed in a blur of phone calls and emails, but my mind kept returning to Jack. By the time 8 o'clock rolled around, I was a bundle of nerves and curiosity. I stepped into the lobby, wearing a sleek black dress I'd thankfully packed for client dinners. Jack was already there, looking devastatingly handsome in a tailored suit. When he saw me, his whole face lit up. "Sarah, you look beautiful," he said, offering me his arm. "Shall we?" Instead of heading to the hotel restaurant as I'd expected, Jack led me outside to where a sleek black car was waiting. A uniformed driver opened the door for us. "Jack," I said, hesitating, "where are we going?" He smiled mysteriously. "I told you I knew just the place. Trust me." Against my better judgment, I nodded and slid into the car. As we drove through the glittering New York streets, I turned to Jack. "So, Mr. Evans," I said, watching his reaction carefully, "is there something you want to tell me?" Jack's smile faltered for a moment. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I suppose I owe you an explanation. But can it wait until we're at the restaurant?" "I promise I'll tell you everything." I nodded, my curiosity now mixed with a tinge of apprehension. What was he hiding? 20 minutes later, we pulled up to an exclusive restaurant I'd only read about in magazines. As we were ushered to a private booth with a stunning view of the city, I couldn't help but feel out of my depth. Once we were seated and had ordered, Jack looked at me seriously. "Sarah, I haven't been entirely honest with you," he began. My heart sank. Here it comes, I thought. He's married, or a criminal, or both. "The truth is," Jack continued, I'm not just a business consultant. I'm the CEO of Evans Enterprises. We're a multinational corporation specializing in sustainable technology and green energy solutions. I stared at him, dumbfounded. Evans Enterprises was a household name, known for its innovative approach to environmental issues. And Jack was its famous, enigmatic leader. But why didn't you tell me? I managed to ask. Jack's eyes were apologetic. In my position, it's hard to know if people like me for who I am or for what I represent. When we met, when you didn't recognize me, it was refreshing. I wanted to hold onto that feeling a little longer. As the waiter brought our appetizers, I sat in stunned silence, trying to process this revelation. The man I'd been so drawn to, who had seemed so down-to-earth and genuine, was actually one of the most powerful businessmen in the country. I'm sorry for not telling you sooner, Jack said softly. I understand if this changes things between us. I looked at him, really looked at him. Behind the revelation, he was still the same Jack who had made me laugh, who had listened to me with genuine interest, who had celebrated my success as if it were his own. I don't know what this means, I said honestly, but I'd like to find out. If you're willing to be completely honest with me from now on. Jack's relief was palpable. He reached across the table, taking my hand in his. I promised Sarah, no more secrets. As we continued our dinner, talking and laughing, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was standing on the edge of something life-changing. The city lights twinkled beyond our window, and in Jack's eyes, I saw a future I had never imagined for myself. But a small voice in the back of my mind whispered caution. Could I really trust him? And was I ready for the whirlwind that would come with being involved with someone like Jack Evans? As the evening wore on, I realized that my one simple business trip had turned into something far more complex and thrilling. And I had a feeling that the biggest challenges and surprises were yet to come. The days that followed were a whirlwind of emotions and experiences. Jack and I spent every free moment together, exploring New York in a way I never had before. One evening, as we strolled through Central Park, the setting sun painting the sky in hues of pink and gold, Jack turned to me, his eyes reflecting the fading light, and said, Sarah, I've been thinking. My life, it's complicated. But being with you these past few days, it's made me realize what I've been missing. I felt my heart quicken as he took my hands in his. What are you saying, Jack? I asked, barely above a whisper. He smiled, that warm, genuine smile that had first drawn me in, and continued, I'm saying that I don't want this to end when you go back to Boston. I want to see where this can go. Us, I mean. I stood there, my mind racing. Part of me wanted to throw caution to the wind, to dive headfirst into this unexpected romance. But another part, the practical, career-driven Sarah, hesitated. Jack, I began, struggling to find the right words. This has been amazing. You're amazing. But my life, my career, it's all in Boston. I can't just uproot everything for a relationship that's only a few days old. I saw a flicker of disappointment in his eyes, quickly replaced by determination. I understand, he said, squeezing my hands gently. But what if I told you that you wouldn't have to choose between your career and us? I furrowed my brow, confused. What do you mean? Jack took a deep breath, as if steeling himself for what he was about to say. Evans Enterprises is looking to expand its marketing division. We need someone with fresh ideas, someone who understands the digital landscape. Someone like you. My eyes widened as the implication of his words sank in. Are you offering me a job? He nodded, his expression a mix of hope and uncertainty. Then he said, I know it's sudden, and I understand if you think it's too much. But I've seen your work, Sarah. You're brilliant. This isn't just about us. It's an opportunity for you to take your career to the next level. I stood there, stunned. The practical part of my brain was screaming that this was crazy, too fast, too soon. But another part of me was exhilarated by the possibilities. I don't know what to say, I stammered, my mind whirling with the implications of his offer. Jack's eyes softened, and he gently cupped my face with one hand and said that I didn't need to decide right then, that I could take some time to think, but that he was serious about this, about us. As we continued our walk, the city lights beginning to twinkle around us, I felt as though I was standing on the edge of a cliff. Behind me was my carefully planned life in Boston, my steady climb up the corporate ladder. Ahead was the unknown, a new city, a new job, and a relationship with a man I was quickly falling for but barely knew. Later that night, as I lay in my hotel bed, unable to sleep, my phone buzzed with a text from Jack. I hope I didn't overwhelm you earlier. Whatever you decide, I want you to know that these past few days have been the best of my life. Sweet dreams, Sarah. I stared at the message, a mix of emotions swirling in my chest. Part of me was thrilled by the romantic gesture, but another part couldn't help but wonder, was this all happening too fast? Could I really trust the intense connection I felt with Jack after just a few days? As dawn broke over the New York skyline, I made a decision. I needed to know more about Jack, about his world, before I could even consider such a life-changing move. I picked up my phone and typed out a message. Jack, I need to see your world. The real one, not just the romantic dates and fancy restaurants. Can you show me what a day in your life is really like? His reply came almost instantly. Of course. Meet me in the lobby at 7 a.m. As I got ready that morning, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was about to step into a world vastly different from my own. Little did I know, this day would change everything, revealing truths about Jack and myself that I never could have anticipated. The elevator doors opened, and there stood Jack, dressed in an impeccable suit, his usual warm smile tinged with a hint of nervousness. Ready for this? He asked, extending his hand. I took a deep breath and stepped forward, taking his hand. Ready as I'll ever be, I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. The day with Jack was a whirlwind of activity that left my head spinning. We started at the Evans Enterprises headquarters, a gleaming skyscraper that seemed to touch the clouds. As we entered the building, the atmosphere changed palpably. Employees nodded respectfully, some looking curiously at me. Jack led me into a vast office with a breathtaking view of the city. Welcome to my world, he said, gesturing around the room. His voice was calm, but I could sense an undercurrent of tension. I walked to the window, taking in the vista. It's overwhelming, I admitted, turning back to face him. Jack's expression softened. He approached me slowly, his eyes never leaving mine. I know it's a lot to take in, but I want you to see all of it, the good and the bad. Just then, a knock at the door interrupted us. A harried-looking assistant poked her head in. Mr. Evans, the board is waiting for you in the conference room. Jack's demeanor shifted instantly, his shoulders squaring as he nodded to the assistant. Tell them I'll be right there. He turned to me, apology written across his face. Care to see what a real CEO's meeting looks like? I nodded, both excited and nervous. As we entered the conference room, a hush fell over the group of stern-faced executives. Jack guided me to a seat, then took his place at the head of the table. What followed was an intense discussion about company strategy, global markets, and environmental initiatives. I watched fascinated, as Jack deftly navigated the complex issues, his intelligence and leadership evident in every word. After the meeting, as we walked back to his office, I couldn't help but voice my admiration. That was incredible, Jack. The way you handled everything. I've never seen anything like it. He smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. It's what I do, but it's not always easy. The pressure, the responsibility, it can be overwhelming. We spent the rest of the day moving from meeting to meeting, dealing with crises, making decisions that would affect thousands of people. By evening, I was exhausted just from watching. As we sat in a quiet corner of an upscale restaurant that night, I finally voiced the thoughts that had been swirling in my mind all day. Jack, I began, my voice soft but firm, I appreciate you showing me all this. But I have to ask, is this really what you want? He looked at me, confusion evident in his furrowed brow. What do you mean? I took a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. I saw you today. You're brilliant at what you do, but I could see the toll it takes on you. The Jack I've gotten to know over the past few days, he seemed so different from the CEO I saw today. Jack was quiet for a long moment, his eyes fixed on the glass of whiskey in front of him. When he finally spoke, His voice was barely above a whisper. You're right. The truth is, Sarah, I've been feeling lost for a long time. Building this company, it's been my life's work. But lately, I've been wondering if it's enough. He reached across the table, taking my hand in his. Meeting you, it's made me question everything. For the first time in years, I've felt truly alive, truly myself. I felt my heart race at his words, but I forced myself to stay focused. Jack, I'm flattered, truly, but we barely know each other. How can you be sure this isn't just an escape? He leaned back, running a hand through his hair. You're right, of course. It's all happening so fast. But Sarah, I can't ignore this feeling. When I'm with you, I feel like I can be both the CEO and the man who loves walking in the park and trying new restaurants. I couldn't help but smile at that. I told him, I feel it too, Jack. But we need to be realistic. My life, my career, they're important to me. Jack nodded, his expression serious. I understand, and I would never ask you to give that up. But Sarah, I think we have a real chance at something special here. I'm willing to work at it, to find a way to balance it all. Are you? I sat there, looking into Jack's eyes, feeling the weight of the decision before me. It was crazy, illogical even, to consider uprooting my life for a man I'd just met. But there was something about Jack, about us together, that felt right in a way nothing ever had before. Finally, I spoke, my voice barely above a whisper. I can't promise anything, Jack. But I'm willing to try, to see where this goes. The smile that broke across Jack's face was radiant. He stood up, pulling me to my feet and into his arms. That's all I ask, he murmured, before capturing my lips in a kiss that made the rest of the world fade away. As we left the restaurant, hand in hand, I knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be challenges, compromises, and difficult decisions to make. But looking at Jack, feeling the warmth of his hand in mine, I couldn't help but feel excited for what the future might hold. We stepped out into the New York night, the city alive with possibilities. And for the first time in my life, I was ready to embrace the unknown, to take a leap of faith. Because sometimes, the greatest adventures begin with a simple misunderstanding and the courage to open your heart to the unexpected. It's been 6 months since that fateful day in New York, and sometimes I still can't believe how much my life has changed. As I sit here in my new apartment overlooking Central Park, I can't help but reflect on the journey that brought me here. After that day of shadowing Jack at Evans Enterprises, I was overwhelmed. The world he lived in was so different from anything I had ever known. I remember lying awake that night, my mind racing with doubts and possibilities. The next morning, I met Jack for breakfast. His face was a mixture of hope and apprehension as he asked what I thought about yesterday. I took a deep breath and told him, Jack, I've never been more scared or excited in my life. He reached across the table and took my hand. The warmth in his eyes made my heart skip a beat as he said, I feel the same way, Sarah. But I believe we can figure this out together. And so began our adventure. I decided to take the leap and accept the position at Evans Enterprises. It wasn't an easy decision, and there were moments when I questioned if I was doing the right thing. Leaving my job in Boston, saying goodbye to my friends, it all felt surreal. The first few months were a whirlwind of adjustments. Learning the ropes at my new job, navigating the complexities of a relationship with a high-profile CEO, and trying to find my place in this new world, it was all challenging. There were nights when I lay awake, wondering if I had made a mistake. But through it all, Jack was my rock. He supported me, encouraged me, and most importantly, he listened. We had our fair share of arguments and misunderstandings, but we always found our way back to each other. I remember one particularly rough day at work. I had made a mistake in a presentation, and I felt like I was in over my head. That evening, I found Jack waiting for me at home with takeout from my favorite Boston restaurant. I thought you could use a taste of home, he said with a smile. It was in moments like these that I knew I had made the right choice. Of course, it hasn't all been smooth sailing. The media attention that comes with dating Jack Evans took some getting used to. The first time I saw my face splashed across a tabloid, I nearly had a panic attack. But Jack helped me navigate this new reality, always putting my comfort and privacy first. As for my career, it's been a steep learning curve, but I'm proud of what I've accomplished. My ideas for digital marketing strategies have been well received, and I'm starting to make a name for myself beyond just being Jack Evans' girlfriend. Looking back, I can't help but marvel at how a simple mix-up at a hotel led to such a profound change in my life. If you had told me a year ago that I'd be living in New York, working for a Fortune 500 company, and in a relationship with one of the most eligible bachelors in the country, I would have laughed in your face. But hey, I am, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Yes, there are still challenges. Balancing our relationship with our careers is an ongoing process. And sometimes, I still feel like an outsider in Jack's world of galas and board meetings. Yet, every time I look at Jack, I'm reminded of why I took this leap. The way his eyes light up when he talks about his latest environmental initiative, the sound of his laughter when we're just being silly at home, the feeling of his hand in mine as we walk through the park. These are the moments that make it all worthwhile. As I finish writing this, I hear the front door open. Jack's voice calls out, "Sarah, are you ready? Tonight, we're attending a charity event for sustainable energy." A year ago, the thought of such an event would have terrified me. Now, I feel a flutter of excitement as I stand up to greet Jack. He wraps me in his arms and kisses me softly. "You look beautiful," he whispers. As we head out the door, hand in hand, I realize something. This journey hasn't just been about falling in love with Jack. It's been about discovering a version of myself I never knew existed. Someone braver, more adaptable, and more passionate than I ever thought I could be. So here's to accidental meetings, to taking chances, and to the beautiful unpredictability of life. Because sometimes the greatest love stories begin with a simple misunderstanding and the courage to open your heart to the unexpected.
If you enjoyed the story, don't miss the next ones appearing on your screen. Feel free to leave your like and subscribe to the channel. It means the world to us. See you next time.